When I did these three things, my growth as an artist skyrocketed. What is up, Shaping Nation? This is Nic Torres here. In this episode, I'm going to be giving you the three secrets that have helped me with growing as an artist. So, secret number one is, you probably already know it, it's failure. You got to be able to learn how to fail fast, fail often in art, in pottery, because the faster you fail, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to be able to find your own style with your pottery. And there's no way in hell you're not going to be able to fail in art, in pottery, because that is literally the name of the game, especially in pottery. There are sometimes cases where it's just completely out of your control and you have no idea what happened. Maybe it's the kiln that broke, or it's just something very minor to happen and you made a complete oops, it failed. And you have to learn how to fail fast and fail often, because that's how you grow as an artist. And not only that, when you fail, you learn more, right? You've always heard this, that when you fail, you learn more, instead of like, oh, if you're always winning, then you're not learning. But if you fail sometimes, then you're going to learn more, and you're going to learn what works for you. You're going to learn how you want to be able to make your art, how do you want to make your pottery. So you have to fail fast. But what do you do after a failure? Happens after that failure is very important, because sometimes I don't want you to go out there and try to fail. I want you to try to succeed in every pot that you're making, because if you don't try to succeed in every pot you're making, then that defeats the purpose of actually failing by accident. Failing by accident is where you learn, instead of just trying to fail all the time. But when you fail by accident, that's when you actually learn. So what do you do after failure? Well, the thing that I tend to do after failure is I like to ponder. I tend to ponder what I can do to fix this, what I can do to make this even better. What can I do to fix the mistake that happened? And when I ponder, I tend to just kind of sit there for a second. I'll sit there just with my arms crossed sometimes, or I'll just like lean my back against the wall, and I'll just ponder what I did wrong. What can I do to fix it? And by pondering, this is when ideas start to spark, and that's when solutions start to come about. You can also take walks. I've gotten a lot of advice from interviewing people where if they're stuck, they just take a walk. And that is great advice. Just like get out of your own head, get out of your own environment. So that the first secret is to fail fast, fail often, and then to ponder the mistakes when they happen. Don't try to make mistakes on purpose, but when they happen, ponder them and try to dissect what went wrong. So the secret number two is this podcast. This podcast has actually helped me probably the most with my growth as an artist. And that is simply because I get to be around other potters. I get to be around other artists all the time. I'm asking them questions and I'm learning so much from them that my own pottery has evolved because I get to ask so many questions. And before I started this podcast, my view about pottery was pretty narrowed. It was very narrowed. So I thought that because I knew how to wheel throw, and because I took so long to learn how to wheel throw, that I was better than everybody else. I thought I was better in terms of just that if you're not wheel throwing, then you're being lazy. And that was a very, very narrow view, because I didn't know much about the pottery world at that time. Like, I thought I knew a lot, but I didn't, until I started interviewing these people. And the more I interview people, the more ideas I got. And like when I started interviewing people, at first I really wanted to be focused on wheel throwing, like the typical glazes that are like bright colored and drippy, because that's what I was into at the time. But upon interviewing more people and more different styles, I realized that because my view was so narrow, that I didn't know a lot. And when I interviewed these people, new ideas started coming ahead. Like the first couple episodes I did interviewing people, it was somebody that was like sculpting things onto their pots. Was, oh, this is such a good idea. And that idea stayed in my head for like a while. And until I was ready to do it, I ended up applying that same thing that I liked from their pottery, and I applied it to my pottery as well. And that wouldn't have happened if I was getting around other potters, getting around a community of potters to learn from them. But how exactly do you get around other potters? How do you get around these people to help you grow your work, to be around these other artists? Well, here are a couple tips. So the first tip is to, number one, reach out to people on Instagram. Ask them questions, ask them, comment on their posts, because more than likely they're going to answer. And if you could just get out of your own head for a second and just ask them the question that you want to ask, like, hey, I love your pottery. How do you make this how do you do this technique? I love that technique and I want to apply it to my own pottery. More than likely, they're going to respond. Trust me, I know I DM people all the time for this podcast. So go out there, use Instagram as a tool, and that's how you can start getting around other potters simply by asking questions through Instagram. Another way you can get around other potters, other artists, is to join a community studio, like in-person community studio. And that's probably a very efficient way, although you have to spend money, like quite a bit of money sometimes, like $200 a month sometimes. But that's a very good way to get around other potters, other artists that are also like-minded like you. They're also there to learn. They're also there to make pottery. And you can ask instructions, and you can ask other potters around you, like, how do they do this? And getting around in that environment, your growth will skyrocket, I promise you. Also, residencies as well. If you want to go down that route of residencies, try to apply for a residency, and you will see your growth takes off because you're focused on purely just making pottery, and everybody around that environment is just making pottery, just making art. By the way, if you want to get around like-minded potters, I created a community called the Clay Games, where every single month we have a new challenge for pottery and to help you grow your own pottery voice. If you want to join this community, click the link below to join the Clay Games community. Hope to see you there. So that was secret number 2. So the secret so far is, number 1, you have to fail hard, fail fast, fail often. And then secret number 2 is getting around like-minded artists, getting around artists in general, getting around potters. And secret number 3 is simply that helped me the most. One of the things that helped me the most is being stubborn. Being stubborn in terms of sometimes you have to put your foot down in what you want to do, right? We see all these different things that other artists, other potters are doing. And we think that if we start doing that as well, then we will start having success. We will start growing as an artist. But sometimes a lot of times we're not going to like what they are doing because it's their thing and it's not our thing. And we have to be stubborn about that in terms of what we want to do first. Be stubborn about that. If you could be stubborn about this and make what you want to make first, then your growth as an artist is going to grow, because now you're taking your interest into account and you're being way more productive in terms of what you actually can make, so that your pottery grows, so that your growth as an artist grows. Simply by being stubborn and choosing to make what you want to make first, and then above everybody else, then your growth as an artist is going to skyrocket, because now you're focusing on just that one thing. You're focusing on what brings you joy. Because it's bringing you joy, growing as an artist is going to be that much more enjoyable. You're not making what everybody else is making. You're being stubborn in terms of, especially, because this goes back to failure as well. If you fail, be stubborn and try to figure this out. Be stubborn, because that's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to grow. You're going to learn more by being stubborn, focusing on that one technique that you really want to master, that one glaze technique that you want to get down on your pottery. Be stubborn, because that's where your growth is going to come from. So to recap, here are the 3 secrets that I gave. So secret number 1 is fail hard, fail fast, fail often. Secret number 2 is getting around a community of other potters. Join the Clay Games community if you want to join a community of like-minded potters. And then 3 is to be stubborn and then make what you enjoy first. If you have a problem, figure it out. Be stubborn until you figured it out. So those are my 3 tips for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one.